All right, so we talked about how to grab attention, how to cultivate desire, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're start talking about how to mix curiosity into that. Curiosity, the ability to create curiosity, direct curiosity, is probably one of the greatest superpowers you're going to develop as a copywriter. Once you understand this, you'll be able to take someone's attention and desire, and instead of just sort of directing it, you'll be sort of able to captivate it. You'll be able to bring them in and make them ravenously curious about continuing to consume the content that you're going to provide in front of them, to learn the lessons that you're going to teach them, to take the actions you want them to take them. Being able to add curiosity on top of the desire you're already triggering is a massive, massive superpower. And you can work it into almost anything. And you will work it into almost everything as a copywriter. Now, before we move on, I'm curious. I'm curious if you already know what curiosity is and know what causes it. So right now, I want you to pause the video, get out a pen and paper, and write down what is curiosity and what causes curiosity, and do your best to answer it for yourself. You'll find the more that you can analyze these type of phenomena that occur inside of the human brain and understand them for yourself, the better you'll be able to then create them for other people. So write down, what is curiosity? How would you define it? And what things trigger or create curiosity in your mind and in the mind of other people? Take some time, write it down. Once you're finished, unpause the video, and we'll continue. So hopefully you've just finished doing this exercise. You've just defined curiosity. I'm going to share with you how I define curiosity, and we're going to talk about ways to trigger it. So the way I define curiosity is that curiosity is the urge to close an information gap around something that you really care about. Now, there's a lot of metaphors to kind of tap into this, but at the end of the day, curiosity is, you know a little bit about something that you really care about, you know there's more, and you want to close that information gap. You want to find the answers to the questions you now have inside of your brain. Like I said, there's a lot of metaphors. It's like you take a rat and you put them down in a maze and you put some cheese inside of the maze and they can smell the cheese somewhere. They're going to try and find their way out through the maze, or try and find their way through the maze to find the cheese, right? That's an example of a rat that experiences curiosity. You've experienced curiosity quite a bit in your life as well. If you've ever watched a TV show or anything like that in your entire life, or a movie even, there are moments of they're cliffhangers. There are moments where you don't know what's going to happen next. Someone you really care about, your favorite character is under threat. How's he going to survive? What's he going to do? That sort of feeling that it usually happens at the end of an episode or at the end of a season for most like TV shows. It's designed to get you like curious about what's going to happen next, so you'll tune in and watch the next show when it's released, or the next episode, and you keep going forever and ever. That's why people binge watch TV, is because at the end of every episode, there's a curiosity factor. There's some unanswered questions that happen. There's an information gap that's created in your mind around something you care about, and you want to watch the next episode. That's why people binge watch episodes, right? Curiosity is something you mix into that. It's like a riddle that you want to know the answer to. Whenever someone proposes a riddle to you and you're trying to figure out the answer, that's the feeling of curiosity. You know there's an answer and you want to figure it out. You want to figure out that answer. You want to solve the puzzle. Now, it's amplified when you connect that to something you really care about. But at the end of the day, humans like solving puzzles just to solve puzzles. People sit around and do Sudoku puzzles for hours and hours, chess puzzles, puzzles. That like puzzles and finding the answers and solving, putting missing pieces where they go. Fixing something that's not quite completely finished is something that's an inherent desire that exists inside of any human being. And if you match that along with the desire to achieve a certain dream state or overcome a certain pain, it amplifies that desire. It's like adding gas to the fire. It magnifies that. So over the next few videos, I'm going to be talking to you about how to actually create this curiosity, how to use words and images and stuff like that to trigger this information gap and to trigger this desire to close it. I'm going to be giving you some recipes, some like cut and paste recipes you can use to drop curiosity throughout the copy you're writing. And I'm also going to show you different ways. There are 6 main ways you can amplify curiosity once you've created it, so that your reader becomes, in a way, addicted to reading your stuff. They become addicted to consuming your content because they're solving puzzles along the way. It's helping their life. And you can use that curiosity to direct them to take the actions they need to enter your value ladder and go all the way up to the very top. So I'm going to be showing how to do that over the next few videos. So pay attention. It's going to be fun. All right, so there are 3 main ingredients that go into creating a feeling of curiosity in the mind of your reader. Now, again, just a quick reminder, I define curiosity as the urge to close an information gap around something that you super care about as an individual, right? Now, the 3 things you need to make that happen is, 1, you need something they super care about. You need to understand one of their top dreams, their top pains. You need to either have an opportunity or a threat that is connected to what they really, really care about. So that's the first thing you need. The second thing you need is some small amount of information about about that's pertinent to that, that's important to them. You need to reveal some part of that information. They need to have some information, not all of the information, but they need some information about that to let them know that it's real. And then you need to allude to or reference more details or more information or other information that they need to have in order to know the full picture, right? Those are the three elements. You need something they care about. You need to give them a little bit of information, and then you need to allude to more information or more things that they need in order to close that gap, in order to know everything and be able to get what they want or avoid that threat or whatever you're holding up as the thing that they super care about. So that's what you need to do. Now, it's really important that there's again, you have to have it connected to a desire. If it's not connected to a desire, it's just a puzzle, which is still going to work, but it's better to have a puzzle that you care about rather than a puzzle you don't. You want them to pay attention. And then that you need to reveal some level of specific detail to help them believe that it's real. If you don't give them any detail, if you just sort of tease abstract stuff or you say it's very empty and they don't have any actual detail, they won't believe that whatever you're teasing, whatever you're alluding to is real. They'll just say, it's just some made up stuff. They won't feel like it's actually enough for their brain to latch on to, right? If you say, hey, I've got some ideas for how to help grow your business, right? There's some detail, but there's not a lot of detail, right? But if you say, hey, I was looking over your website and I had 6 ideas for minor design tweaks that we can use to increase the conversion rate on this landing page. Now the curiosity is a little bit higher, right? Yeah, we've got a little bit more of a desire, but we've also given some specific details, 6 ideas about tweaking the design, like design tweaks that we can use to increase the conversion. It seems more real than I have some ideas to improve your website, just because you've made it more specific. You've given one more detail. So then there needs to be some detail so the brain can actually latch onto it and start chasing that tendril of knowledge. But then you need to allude to the full, to extra information they don't know about. In that example I just gave you, those actual design, what those actual design changes is the information that is being alluded to that they are going to find out if they take the next steps. And basically, again, what you're doing is you're creating unanswered questions in their mind. You're raising questions. You're giving them just enough detail so they know there's an answer, but you're not giving them the full answer until they take that action. So if you can include these 3 elements, desire, something they care about, some information, and then allude to more information that they can get after taking certain action, purchasing product, clicking the link, etc. You can, or continuing to read the page, for example, you will be able to create a feeling of curiosity inside of the mind of the reader, a strong feeling of curiosity that will get them to take that next step. And essentially that's what you do as a copywriter, right? As someone who's guiding their attention, is you're going to create unanswered questions. They're going to take some action like reading or clicking or purchasing something or watching a video. And as they do so, they're going to be rewarded with that answer that they look for, right? And boom, that creates a positive feeling. They've got dopamine from chasing this. They've had an opportunity, a curiosity created in their brain. They did take some actions and they got a reward. And if you do that over and over again, you get some Pavlovian conditioning involved and they get addicted to reading your stuff and they want to continue reading, continue to do this stuff. And a key point here is once you've answered that question, it's up to you to create more curiosity and more curiosity. We're going to talk about that in a later video about how to actually measure out and drip curiosity throughout all of the stuff that you're doing. But for now, understand that you need these 3 elements in order to create curiosity. Now, with those 3 elements, you could go off and you could figure out how to do curiosity all by yourself. But I'm going to give you 20 recipes, little word phrases you can use to create curiosity on demand as you sit down to do different writing projects in this next video. So get your pens and paper out, start taking notes because I'm going to give you 20 cool recipes. All right, so this is going to be a quick video, and I'm just going to show you how to write fascinations. These are those recipes I was talking to you about that you can use to create curiosity on demand. Now, a fascination is a copywriting term, and it basically means a short blurb of text. It's 1 to 2 sentences that you can use to create and amplify curiosity at any given point in time. You're going to use them all throughout your copywriting. There'll be the headlines of your sales pages, your subject lines. You'll use them as sub-headlines throughout your sales page. You'll do them as bullet points inside when you talk about your courses. You're going to pay it, once I kind of go through these examples, you're going to say, oh, I've seen that one before. I've seen this one before. They're going to be used literally scattered throughout everything you write as a copywriter. So it's good to have some little, recipes, some combinations, some things you can pull out your back pocket when you need to create some curiosity and just have some go-to patterns for doing it. So I'm going to give you 20 different examples, 20 different forms of or little recipes, and you can start using them in different projects that you work on, right? So let's dive right in. So these are the recipes. The first one is the how-to. You've probably seen this one a million times. how to become a 10K a month copywriter as quickly as possible, right? How to alludes to that there's a method to achieve that thing that you want. In this case, become a $10,000 a month copywriter as quickly as possible. Secret to is a similar one. The secret to writing killer fascinations every time you sit down at your computer. Why? Why most billionaires start their day in the exact same way. What to do if you want to land your first copywriting client in less than 30 days. What never to say on go with like the specificity. 7 steps that guarantee you will reach your push-up goal each day, right? The right, wrong. This is where you can double or even triple your snails. Anything that's sneaky, unorthodox, strange, different. Like again, we're leveraging that equation that we talked about before, and slap this when you're talking about a solution or you're teasing a solution. This is a powerful way to do it. The quickest way to boost people conveys a level of importance and it magnifies the desire around it, saying, "Ooh, this is the single thing you must do. Like this is the ultimate." And ultimate is another one you could say. Get a PDF of this, so you'll be able to see how you can be able to copy and paste these and use these throughout your missions. But this is how these are some really quick and easy language patterns you can use to create and drip curiosity, whether in a headline or in the middle of a sales page to get them to read the story, et cetera, et cetera. These are all powerful methods. And again, these aren't the only ones. You'll find a lot more. You'll identify more as you go through. You'll probably invent your own as a copywriter. So just use these as a starting point, as sort of a base level of recipes you can use as you're creating fascinations throughout your copywriting. All right, so I've given you 20 different recipes, different ways that you can create curiosity. There's, like I said, there's a million others. You'll probably mint your own. But what I want to talk about in this video are 6 different ways that you can enhance the curiosity that you create in your fascinations or in any of the curiosity work you do as a copywriter. Now, these are 6 things. They can be combined together. You can use them individually. You don't have to use them all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But they're useful to have in sort of your copywriting mental toolbox. You can pull out whenever you need it to amplify some curiosity. And the first thing you can do is to make your information that you reveal more specific, right? Or the desire that you help them with more specific. Giving them extra detail, going from abstract to specific and vivid, is one of the most powerful ways to make them think that it's real and to amplify the certainty that there is actually an information gap and they need to close. Well, some people do abstract stuff, and I kind of mentioned this in the last video, or where they'll say, "Hey, I've got some ideas to help you improve your website." And that's kind of abstract. But if you say, "Hey, I've got 6 web design tweaks you can make to your CTA section to help you increase the conversions on your site," now there's more curiosity because there's more specific information. It seems more real. And there is a desire to actually learn that and figure out what those are instead of what these just abstract ideas are. So going from abstract to specific without telling them everything, but just telling them more specific details is one of the most powerful ways to amplify their curiosity. Another powerful thing you can do is tell them what the thing is that you're teasing isn't. You can tell them what it's not. I call these not statements. Hey, hey, I've got 6 tweaks I can make to your website to help you improve your conversion rate. And no, it's not changing the color. And no, it's not making the button bigger. You can say things that, you can tell them what it's not. And a lot of times people will have pre-existing, if you make a promise or start teasing something, they'll try and figure out the answer and they'll have where they think is the answer. If you can tell them that it's not that thing, if you can break their first expectation or their first guess, then their curiosity gets even more aroused. They're like, "Wait, I thought it was this. Turns out it's not. What is it? It's something different. This is something new. I got to figure this out." So telling them what it's not is another really powerful way to get them curious about what it actually is. Another really powerful thing you can do is you can tap into things that they are already curious about. People already have inherent curiosity about different things. And this is going to be different market to market. Your target markets are going to have different things they care about. But people generally care about, I don't know, what billionaires do. They care about, there's some things that have built-in curiosity and mystery, like ancient Egypt or Illuminati, et cetera, right? Like there are things that have built-in curiosity that you can leverage in your fascinations, in your copywriting thing. You can say, "Hey, this secret was taken from the King Tut's tomb," whatever, right? You can tease some stuff about ancient history or modern secrets. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And again, it depends on that market. Not every market responds well to this, but almost every market has something that already people are curious about knowing more about. If you can say that you've got that thing or you've taken it from that source, then they're going to be more interested, right? So pulling from an existing source of mystery or curiosity is a powerful tool. Another thing that people really care about, and this is something that massively incites curiosity, is the idea of a paradox, right? If you come across something that you can't explain, and you want to try and explain it, right? If you walk around the world and all of a sudden you see a purple cow, you're going to care, but you'll be like, wait a second, what's going on? Why is this cow purple? What, this is unexplainable behavior. I want to pay more attention to it. This is, I'm more curious. The burning bush is a good example, right? In the story of Moses, God wanted to get his attention, so he led him to a bush that was burning without actually being consumed. Whenever you are presented with a question you don't know the answer to, or there is that's an apparent contradiction in the world that you haven't been able to reconcile, that creates curiosity. It's a really powerful unanswered question, right? Why is it so hard to learn a language when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, you can learn a new language easily, right? That's a why question, a paradox question that creates a lot of curiosity, because it's an unexplainable phenomena that if you understand it is going to reveal some keys and help you get what you want. So creating and showing paradoxes is a really powerful way to create and amplify curiosity. Another thing that humans care about and gets people to pay attention to and try and figure out what's going on is conflict and drama. If there are two people fighting, you want to know why the fight started. If one company is taking on another company, if one person is fighting against this way of doing things, you want to know why. Because when people fight, that means there must be a really, really important reason, and a really, really important reason might be connected with what I want. Why are they fighting? So anytime you can mix in conflict or drama, you can usually massively amplify people's curiosity. People like to show up for drama, a good thing or bad thing, that's just how it is. So you can leverage that to get people to pay more attention, get more curious, and direct them to go, pay attention and take action that's going to help them actually succeed in life, right? Another thing that's really powerful, and this is the final one I'm going to talk about on this video, is the idea of being in the group that knows, right? There's always like a clique of people. There's a group of elite people that know the secret. They all work together. They know things that you don't know. That's why they get to have the life that you don't get to have, right? If you grow up as a kid, there's always those people in school. There's always those people in life. There seems to be like an in group that knows what's going on. And if you just knew what they knew, you could get what they have, right? This is sort of a built-in way that humans view the world and experience the world. So if you can take and tease secrets from this smart group and give them to everyone, or give people an opportunity to join this group to learn what's on the inside, give them that feeling of FOMO, that's a really powerful way to amplify or magnify curiosity, right? So that's a really cool thing. Hey, look, the top 3 brands in this area are using a very specific formula for social media engagement that's allowing them to be the first person that shows up when someone searches for this on Instagram. Let me show you what it is. This in group, there's people that have what you want. They use a system, they have a secret, let me reveal it to you. That's a really powerful way to amplify curiosities, to say that it comes from the in group, the group that knows, the group that already has what you want. So these are 6 elements, and you'll probably find other things, because again, I hope to send you forth into the world as young people who are actively looking and learning for stuff. You're going to find other ways to amplify curiosity, but here are 6 really powerful ways to tap into the way that the human brain is wired to amplify curiosity and get people more interested in finding the answer to that question and taking that next step. Maybe that's all right. So you now know what curiosity is. You know how to create it. You know what the ingredients are. You know some recipes for it. You know ways to amplify it. You know a lot about curiosity you didn't know about before. This is a superpower. Make sure you practice this very carefully. Make sure that you weave this into every step of what you do. You want to create unanswered questions in their brain, an information gap around something they really care about. Have them take action and reward them by giving them more information, either closing that gap entirely or closing it a little bit more, and then create new unanswered questions to get them to take the next step and the next step and the next step, right? You want them to have unanswered questions, curiosity, an information gap that can only be closed after they take that action that you want them to take. Maybe that's an email, and the only way they can close that information gap is to click the link and go learn what's on the other side. Maybe the only way they can close that information gap is they book a sales call with you, et cetera, et cetera. You want to create it. You want to structure the entire flow of the experience where each step they have unanswered questions, they have things they want to figure out, and they can only figure it out if they take the action that you want them to take, right? If you can layer this in step by step, paragraph by paragraph, click link by link, step by step throughout your funnel, where there's just a little bit of curiosity every single step of the way, you're going to get a lot more people to flow through, because this is an inherent drive. As human beings, we are designed to be curious. We're designed to go through the world and try to figure it out, explore a new country, figure new things out. If you can leverage that into the whole process of learning about something they really care about and taking action to improve their life, you can make a huge difference in the world, right? You can help people take action where they wouldn't before. So it's a superpower. Pay attention in your own life to things that you get curious about and things that other people get curious about. Be curious about curiosity. I'm telling you, the more attention you pay to curiosity and building it up, in addition to everything else I teach you, the better you're going to do as a copywriter, the better you'll do in life, the more persuasive you'll be. If you're the guy that can show up and add a little bit of mystery and curiosity and take people on fun, exciting little paths in their mind and reveal cool things to them, you become a much better conversationalist, and you're going to make a lot more money as a salesman and as a copywriter in this world. So guys, pay attention to curiosity. Layer it into everything that you do appropriately, and use it to get people to take action towards things that are going to help them improve their life. All right. So one of the other main things you need to do as a copywriter is you need to find and amplify their desires and their pains. That's, again, how you get them to take steps towards taking action. We know how to grab their attention. We know how to build curiosity. But one of the things we need to do is we need to amplify their desires and amplify their pains. You see, humans are strange, right? We go through life and we have things we want and we have things we don't like about our current situation. We try and solve the problem, and usually things get difficult and we fail. We fail at solving the problem at first. And something that a lot of humans do is they do mental gymnastics to try and dim down the dream, right? So they stop dreaming the same way. They stop wanting, they distract themselves so they don't actually want the big thing that they wanted before. Or they distract themselves and comfort themselves away from feeling the pain in their current situation. It's your job as a copywriter to go in and find these pains, find these desires that exist inside of their brain and bring them to life. It's like they're the dying embers of a fire. You throw fuel on top of those so they rage again. They have the strong dream and the strong pain, and it causes them to take steps, right? That's one of the things that you do. An important thing to keep in mind here also is that as a copywriter, you don't create desire and you don't create pain. They already have these things inside of their brain. You can't make someone want something that they don't want, and you can't make someone hate something that they don't hate about their lives. You can maybe link it to an existing pain or show them a few things. Maybe there's a few ways you can do it, but you have to at least connect it to some existing pain or desire they already have for them to even care. So when you sit down to do your work, this is why research is so important, to find out what they actively care about, what their active pains and fears are, so that you can tap into those, so that you can reignite those fires in their minds. It's like their little buttons inside of their brain, their pain button or their desire button, and you find them. And once you find them, you can push that button and it will make them take action. So as a copywriter, as someone who's seeking to help people take action and purchase products and buy things and take action in their life, you want to make sure that you find these existing motivators and you find them and you identify them. And I'm going to show you how to use the language patterns to tap into them and get them to take action. I'm going to show you how to amplify the desire. Find a desire they already have, and stack other desires on top of it, so it becomes a really powerful desire. Or current pains that they already have, and stack more pains on top of it to where it becomes a more powerful pain to motivate them to take action. Again, to improve their lives. I only recommend you work with businesses that use these tools in order to help people take action that will legitimately improve their lives. And because some of the stuff I'm going to show you over the next few videos is like almost sneakily good. Like it's like a superpower that should only be used for good. It could be used for evil. I recommend you only use it for good because that makes the world a better place. So I'm going to show you in the next few videos what those core human desires are, how to layer them, and then how to use specific copywriting techniques to trigger and amplify their existing desires and pains. All right, so we've talked about how you can't really create or destroy desires or pains inside of someone's mind. You can only find the ones that currently exist and then connect them to your product, connect them to your service, connect them to the action you want them to take, and amplify those desires or pains. And today, we're going to review a concept that you should be familiar with at this point, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which kind of outline the basic human needs that every human has that you can connect. And when I say needs, I mean their desires and their pains, the things they want and the things they want to avoid losing. These are the things that you're going to tap into with every single product you promote. Now, some products initially might seem like they only really fit one level of this hierarchy, but you'll soon see that you can layer in the higher and more powerful levels that go further up this hierarchy to make a much more significant impact in the mind of your reader, and also to help provide a lot more value to them in the form of the products that you sell. So the base level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is the thing that you have to have taken care of before you can really worry about everything else. And that is like the physiological needs. Things like, do I have air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction, like basic biological, physiological needs. Those are the things that on a base level, humans absolutely have to have. Some products address them directly. Other products have nothing really to do with them. But that is the base level of human needs. The next one is like safety, feeling secure, personal security, having employment, having resources coming in, having that like actually like a secure future is an important part. That's where safety comes in. That's a little bit higher value than just giving someone like physiological needs. Feeding someone is cool, but someone knowing that they can be fed for the rest of their life is a lot more powerful. Above that, we start to get into the really fun ones, and that's love and belonging. Love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, brotherhood. That type of stuff is significantly higher, right? If they feel like they have a group of people who love and care for them, or feel like the people that are in their lives will love and care for them more, that is a much more powerful emotion than just like safety needs. I mean, again, you need to have all of these in life, and your product will fall somewhere along the spectrum. But the problems or the pains and desires that your product helps with will fall somewhere along the spectrum, but you're going to want to learn to layer all these together. I'm giving you a quick overview so you can see them in action as you continue to do your research and continue to practice this. So above love and belonging, you have esteem. All right, now esteem is basically status amongst your peers. Do people respect you, right? Do you hold status inside of the tribe? Do people inside of your tribe, your group, respect you? Now, everybody's part of a group. Everybody's part of a tribe. They want to be respected by those that they love, their family, their friends, their coworkers, the people in their world. They have certain values, and they want to be viewed as high status inside of those values. That is, at the end of the day, one of the most powerful motivators, one of the most powerful desires, and the flip side, most powerful fears. If they feel like they lose their esteem, or they feel like they're embarrassed in front of everybody that they love and care about, that's a pretty powerful pain that you can tap into. Now, at the very peak of the pyramid is self-actualization. The belief that you are all you can be, the belief that you are doing the best job, the belief that you are right, that you are righteous, that you are upright. That is the ultimate, like self-respect is the ultimate pinnacle of the human's desire, fulfillment, believing that you are fulfilling your divine purpose. That is the ultimate level of needs and desires. Now, for each of these things, there's an opportunity and a threat side. There's an opportunity to eat food, and then there's the opportunity or the threat of you're not going to have any more food. There's the opportunity of get a job and make money for the rest of your life. And then there's the threat of lose your job and be homeless, right? Like there's a threat and an opportunity to each side of these, right? One side is the pain and one side is the pleasure. And you need to understand these basic human desires, these basic human needs. Pause this video, look at this beautiful pyramid, analyze them, look at your life, look at the things that you have, things that you want on this pyramid. It will be very, very helpful, because as you seek to inspire desire or inspire pain in the minds of your reader, you need to understand these basic human desires and pains so that you can connect them to your product, to your service, to the thing that's going to help them improve their life and achieve a higher level of success within this giant pyramid. Now, we've talked about the different types of human needs. We've talked about how you really can't create or destroy these needs. You can only really find them and trigger them, and how it's kind of like pushing a button. You push this pain button, it will cause them to act. You push this desire button, it will cause them to take steps forward. I'm going to be talking in the next few videos how you actually do this with words. Right now, you can obviously do this with physical images. You can show them a picture of something they want and they'll want to move toward it, or you can show them a picture of something that they don't want to run away from it. But at the end of the day, you can achieve these same desires and fears. You can trigger them. You can push those buttons and amplify them through using the power of words. And essentially, you're going to be creating a movie or an experience in the mind of your reader. And that movie or experience is what triggers the emotion, right? So you're going to be using a bunch of sensory language. So language related to visual, like the five senses, visual language, kinesthetic language, like the way that they feel physically, things that they hear, auditory, and then gustatory, olfactory, which is like the things that you taste or smell. That's used a little less commonly, but it's still a very powerful tool to create powerful emotions in the mind of your reader, to trigger that desire or trigger their pain. Now, I'm going to be showing you examples from different sales pages, different copies, some old, some new, but these principles of triggering desire through these different senses are fundamental. You're going to be doing this throughout your copy. At the very beginning, when you're triggering desire and curiosity and attention, you're going to be using vivid images or sounds or feelings. And then during your copy, during the storytelling, during the close, during all the parts that come later, the ability to create a little mental image or a little movie in their brain, a little experience that they can experience inside of their mind is going to be invaluable, because it's going to allow you to trigger specific emotions. You need to identify what pain or desire or feeling or emotion you want them to have. And then you can create a mental experience for them, a sensory mental experience that will trigger that emotion. It's kind of that reverse engineering. And I'm going to show you examples of how to do it with each of the five senses. And I'm going to show you examples of how to then combine that into different combinations in the future to trigger, to push that button, and to amplify the desires and the pains that they feel in order to get them to take action. All right, so I'm going to be showing you some examples of how to use visual language, visual sensory information to trigger specific desires, pains, fears, and ideas inside of the mind of your reader. I'm going to be using some examples from some old ads, from some new sales pages, et cetera, et cetera. You have to keep in mind, while you probably will never write a magazine ad, especially one that runs in a Kung Fu magazine in the 1990s, the human persuasion that occurs here is exactly the same. Human nature hasn't changed since the 90s. It hasn't changed in the last 10,000 years. So if you look at pages or marketing materials that worked really, really well in the past, the human persuasion that happens on a fundamental level, the way they used words, can still be used today. So I'm going to be using different examples. I'm going to be showing you different ways to use visual sensory information to trigger movies inside of the mind of the reader. Now, the whole idea behind this ad was he was selling a self-defense program where he would send you a bunch of videos of VHS, and you would get also a plastic training gun, right? And the whole point of this was you would watch all the videos, you'd give the gun to a friend, and you have the friend point at you and pretend to pull the trigger, but you would disarm him because of all the stuff you learned in the video before he could pull the trigger, right? That was the whole idea. So he sent this to people in a martial arts magazine, and I want to show you a very specific part here where he creates a little movie inside of the mind of the reader to trigger some desire. And let me show you how he did this. He says, "You will see how even a small man, 5'5", 140 pounds, soaking wet, can easily disarm and take down a bodybuilder, 6'2", 240 pounds, trained in judo." That's one little snippet. But he gives just enough details to create a movie inside of the mind of the reader. He gives a specific description of both characters and what happens. And in the mind of the reader, it triggers a movie. It creates a movie. I see it. I see the two people fighting. And the cool thing is, the closer the reader is to that 5'5", 140 pounds description, he's more likely to see himself fighting the big judo guy and taking him down. Now he's given them a little movie, a little taste of something that they want to have happen. These guys want to be big, strong. They want to fight and defeat the bad guy, right? They want to have that ability. They want to be the top high status man in the competition. He's given them a chance to see it, and it triggers their desire. They want to move towards making that vision, that little movie in their mind, a reality. Let me show you another example. This is from a sales page. This is currently, at the time of this filming, the highest converting relationship sales page in the ClickBank affiliate marketplace right now. And I want to show you an example of how they use imagery. Real quick, they also use visual images. These are, like, we were talking about words here, but don't underestimate the importance of using visual images. They're using visual images to communicate ideas here and make people want to move towards something. But so make sure that you're still keeping in mind, as a copywriter, you're not really going to be in charge of the images all the time, but they're a tool you might want to start considering using as well. You saw that in the other ad, the guy with the gun, big, strong, old school, hardcore army guy. Similar thing. They're presenting the desire that way. But let me show you an example inside of the story that he tells here, because he tells the story about this is a guy named James who's a relationship coach, and he tells a story about his friend Rachel, about how he helped her win her boyfriend Mike back. And she calls this James guy, tells him that's really, really bad. He meets up with her at Starbucks, and this is what he says to kind of help communicate the idea and enrich this little story, this movie that's being played in the mind. From the running eyeliner and the red puffy eyes, it was obvious it was really bad this time. So he's created an image of Rachel sitting there at Starbucks. The person reading this page can create this movie. They know what Starbucks looks like. They can imagine what Rachel looks like. And they know definitely what it looks like when they have running eyeliner, red puffy eyes. They've experienced that themselves. So they're creating a movie of it. And when they see that movie, they're experiencing the same emotions that Rachel is experiencing. It's triggering that feeling. They're all those remembered pains that they've ever had, of every breakup they've ever had in their entire life, come rushing back to the surface of their consciousness because of the visual imagery that he's created here to enhance the movie that is playing inside the reader's mind. So whenever you sit down to do this, you need to ask yourself, okay, what pain do I want to create? What desire do I want to create? What emotion do I want to trigger inside of the reader's mind? Okay, what visual movie, what do they need to see or experience inside of their mind on a visual level that will trigger that emotion? In this case, we see, she's describing the way that she's crying. In the previous one, they created a little movie of a tiny guy taking down the big guy, right? You can use visual language to create this. So you describe visually what's going on. You can usually lead into this. If you want to start talking about this, you can say, picture this, imagine this, or you can say, you can just say if, and then like describe the visual scene. There's a lot of ways you can insert visual language, and you're going to find a lot of examples of it in the missions and the exercises you do after this video. But you use visual sensory information to create visual movies that will trigger emotions, and you just have to kind of reverse engineer. What emotion do I want to create? What movie do they need to see? And then you describe that thing so they can experience that emotion when they read the actual copy. All right, now we're going to be talking about how to use kinesthetic language to trigger emotions and feelings. Now, kinesthetic is probably just as powerful as visual, and it's one of the two main drivers. Most people are driven by visual and kinesthetic, like what they see and what they actually physically feel. Those are probably the two most powerful drivers. I'm going to show you how to use the other ones as well, but kinesthetic is one of the fastest routes to emotion. I'm going to show you a few examples. We're going to look at our favorite little ad here with the John Carlton's free gun ad with Mr. Macho over here. I want to show you an example of a place here where he's triggering an emotion with kinesthetic language. So I'm going to read this paragraph. He says, "Why am I asking you to do this? Because I want to prove to you that what you see on these videotapes will allow you to instantly take that gun away barehanded and put him down on the ground before he can move a muscle to squeeze the trigger. And once down, you will be able to keep him on the floor and even slap him silly if you please." So this does trigger a visual image, like there's a little movie that's played in the mind, but that's rich with kinesthetic feeling type language and movement type language. Take the gun away barehanded, right? You're imagining what it feels like to do that. Put him on the ground, push, move, put him on the ground before he can move a muscle to squeeze the trigger, right? We're talking about movement, about the physical kinesthetic battle that's happening here. And once you've got him down, you better keep him on the ground. That's physical, but that feeling of pinning them down and then slapping him silly, right? You're actually physically feeling what it's like to slap this person silly. It triggers a much richer description. If it was just visual, it wouldn't be as rich. But because we've layered in the kinesthetic, we get that base feeling. It triggers even more emotion. Now, you want to layer visual and kinesthetic and auditory, all these emotions and senses together as much as you possibly can. But this is an example of him describing physically what's going on. What does his body feel like? What does the motion feel like? He's using that type of dynamic language to describe physically what's going on, what he's feeling on an emotional level almost. It triggers those emotions, right? That's one example. This ad is full of it. I'm going to show you again from our other ad, this one with James helping the women find their love in their life. There's a lot of examples of the words here to describe sensations, right? He'll feel a surge of desire for you that goes beyond physical attraction. He literally says feel. That's kinesthetic. Feel, tactile. I will feel a surge of desire for you. They're able to get a feel for what that is. They can kind of experience what that is. They can imagine what it feels like in themselves and what they can imagine what it feels like in that other person. This is just replete with other examples of it. The emotions. Smitten. Yeah, she told me about Mike. 3 years ago, she was smitten and in love. Smitten is a physical verb that describes like the impact of falling in love. We can talk about this so much. There's so many examples here you could practically feel the sparks fly between them. He's using physical sensations. He's describing physical sensations, and it triggers that feeling. The woman reading this knows what that feels like. She can kind of imagine, it's like a rom-com. She can imagine the sparks and the energy flying. She can think back to the time where it's happened to people in her life, like her Mike that she lost 2 years ago, for example, right? Using kinesthetic language, describing how they feel inside of their body, is one of the most powerful ways to tap into emotions. You're going to see this quite a bit. In a lot of the copy that you break down, you're going to find a lot of examples of people describing how they feel. And that is one of the fastest ways to trigger emotions. So focus on language that talks about physical sensations, that talk about the feeling of touching or holding things, and things that talk about dynamic movement of the body or any kind of movement, rushing, running, jumping, that kind of stuff. Anything that's along those lines is going to help trigger a lot of emotions. And again, you have to ask yourself, what emotions do I want to trigger? What physical sensations can I describe that will help trigger that emotion inside of the mind of the reader? And again, visual and kinesthetic are probably the two biggest drivers. Kinesthetic is probably the most underrated out of those two. Kinesthetic sensory language is one of the fastest routes to trigger emotion inside of the mind of your reader. All right, so now we're going to talk about layering in auditory language, like sensory information to trigger specific emotions. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. One of the best ways, obviously you can talk about the sounds in their environment, but one of the best ways you can do this is with dialogue. If you can literally take what someone says, that is one of the most powerful ways to trigger new emotions, especially when it's connected to how other people perceive you. So in this story, we're going back. All right, so now we're going to talk about layering in auditory language, like sensory information to, obviously you can talk about the sounds in their environment, but one of the best ways you can do this is with dialogue. If you can literally take what someone says, that is one of the most powerful ways to trigger new emotions, especially when it's connected to how other people perceive you. So in this story,
We're going back to the Rachel story, right? Rachel's trying to find love. She's trying to get Mike to come back and love her. They do some secret cool stuff here. And Mike decides that he wants to be with this chick. And this is how they use auditory language to trigger an emotion and enrich that it's sort of that mental movie that they're playing. So Mike comes up at a doorstep and he says, I've realized that I won't be happy without you in my life. That is what every woman reading this page wants a man to say to her. And when they hear it in their mind, when they read this text, they see the quotes, they hear it and they get to feel that sensation. Ooh, wouldn't it be great to have a man love me like that? It's an example of that, using language specifically from people in their life when you're layering in, or again, from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that status, that esteem, that love and respect from people that they care about. If you can use how other people will talk to them or how they are talking to themselves, that's another one, right? Some people have internal dialogue. Everyone has internal dialogue around things. They might say things to themselves about stuff. And if you can tap into what they're saying to themselves or what other people are saying to them, that's one of the fastest way to tap into the auditory power of triggering emotions. You can describe things inside of their environment as well, but tapping into what other people are saying or what things sound like is a really powerful way. I want to show you a classic ad. This one is from 1927. This is a famous ad. I just want to show you the headline here. We don't really need to get too much into it. They literally have an image here, which is kind of fun. We have people talking about each other. This is actually cool, right? So here's a dialogue between this girl to this guy. Can you really play? A girl whispered. Heavens no, Arthur exclaimed. He never played a note in his life. These guys, so we have dialogue, what people are saying about him, right? When you hear those words, when you hear what someone's saying about you, it's going to trigger emotions. But here's the classic headline. They laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play ... right? He sat down. Look, here's an example in the first part. Arthur had just played the Rosary. The room rang with applause. They're using examples of auditory language to communicate sound. And as you can tell, certain ads and certain products kind of lend themselves to different sensations. For example, if you're doing something with music or sound, guess what? You're probably going to use a lot of auditory language. If you're doing something with like physical defense or love, you're probably going to use kinesthetic language to describe the feelings of love or the feelings of fighting the opponent, right? Each product is going to have probably one dominant, but you want to use the rest of the sensory experiences to enrich the movie that you create in their mind so that you can create better emotions. Again, ask yourself, what emotion am I trying to create in their mind? What sounds do they need to hear? What words do they need to hear from other people in their world to trigger that particular emotion? It's a really powerful tool. Using auditory is sort of a secret back door to trigger a lot of emotions, especially in the status and respect and love category. So keep it in mind. Think to yourself, what could they hear? What does it sound like when they're successful? What does it sound like when they're in pain? Use that type of language to trigger those desires. Okay, so we've talked about the big three of visual, we talked about kinesthetic, we talked about auditory. Those are the big three senses that most people use to experience their world and to codify their emotions. But there's a few others that are very powerful, and those are the olfactory, which is like smell, and then there's gustatory, which is taste. So smell and taste are also really big. They're very powerful. They're hard to use. Most people don't go through the world codifying their entire experience around them, but it can be a very useful thing to use in there sparingly to enhance and enrich the movies and experiences you're creating in their mind to trigger these pains and desires. I'm going to give you an example from the ads we just looked at. So here's the line. It's because you gave him his first taste of real love. He's using the word taste. That's gustatory. That's taste. And there's a sort of a taste that is associated with love on a subconscious level if you think about it. So here's one example of this. I'm going to show you another ad. This is the Kinobody Masterclass for the Movie Star Masterclass, a really high performing sales page. It's got a really good VSL up here, but in here he uses some language to talk about and trigger some gustatory, some taste style stuff. So he says, this is the most effective fitness program. Slice off fat, gain perfect. Oh, that's kinesthetic. If you pay attention, slice off fat. That's kind of that feeling. Gain perfect muscle proportion and look like an absolute movie star. You can notice some of these different sensations here, right? There's kinesthetic, there's physical, or visual. This is accomplished with just 3 hard-hitting workouts, kinesthetic, per week, and the most enjoyable diet of your life. Enjoyable diet. So that's kind of related to gustatory. In fact, I eat like a king every single night. So he's triggering that gustatory. It's a little more closer to kinesthetic, actually, that feeling of eating like a king. and the feasting feeling, it's going to trigger certain memories, right? Smell is really powerful. I didn't really dig too deep to find too many good examples, but if I tell you to imagine the smell of your mom's favorite, like the favorite meal that your mother or your grandmother makes for you, the smell of your grandparents' house, it immediately triggers a sense of, you can smell it, you can remember that smell, and it immediately triggers a sense of like warmth and love at home, right? You smell the smell of warm cookies, right? Something smells fishy, or it reeks of this, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can use olfactory and smells in coffee, but you have to be very subtle with it. If you go too extreme, unless it's literally like a perfume, if you go too extreme with describing olfactory, or even too strong with talking about gustatory, it can kind of come off as strange. So you have to be very subtle. You really should only be things where it's related specifically to the copy that you're writing. But start thinking of little subtle ways you can mix in, the taste of victory, the taste of, the bitter taste of defeat. There are ways you can mix in that type of language to enhance those sensations, enhance their desires, enhance their fears or their pains. It's a powerful tool. So keep that in mind, but realize you need to use olfactory and gustatory language very sparingly. All right, so we talked about how to use different sensory information to create images inside of people's minds, and that's really important. But now I want to talk to you about different ways you can use this, or rather different times that you can use these experiences to create power inside their mind. There's basically three. There's two main ones and one sort of a hybrid of the main two. The first one is you can talk about where they are currently, right? You can talk about the things they're currently feeling or currently like experiencing right now. And then you can talk about the future, both positive or negative, things that they could experience in the future. And then sometimes you can use stories that give them the opportunity to project their present or their future into that story. And let me give you some examples from this right now. This is one of the top performing ads inside of a mindset niche. It's kind of cheesy, and you'll have to realize that this is just one example of many. You probably won't write anything exactly like this. But this particular ad is this page is currently converting really, really well in a video sales format. I'm just showing you the text right now because it's a little bit easier. But this is a free training page. Let me show you a place where he talks about where they are currently feeling right now. He's trying to get them to resonate and feel their current pains right here. He says, you're also frustrated. Frustrated there never seems to be enough money left at the end of enough month left at the end of the money, that your dreams of retirement are fading and your expenses keep going up. Some of you are carrying debts you can't ever seem to shake. You can notice the different language patterns here, the different sensations. Others have tried starting businesses that flop, or they succeed and wind up being just as much work as your old job. You secretly ask yourself, is this it? Is this what the rest of my life is going to look like? You know deep down that inside, unless something big changes, is exactly what the rest of your life is going to look like. If you can relate to that, I have very good news for you. So he's given them a little snippet into their current life, what they're currently feeling, right? And he's using these language patterns. You notice the visual, kinesthetic, auditory, all of those to amplify their current feelings, both positive, like their dreams for the future, kind of, but mainly their pains. Now, I'm going to show you a part in this ad where he gives them a preview of the future. Now, this is called future pacing. You can do this both with the positive and the negative. You can show them this is what your life would look like if you make the change, and you can also show them what happens if they don't make the change. Now, here's an example. So this whole product's like a mindset deal where you like watch some movie previews or whatever, and you feel the millionaire mind. It might be placebo effect. Who knows? I'm just using this as an example. So he says right here, imagine, no matter how old you think you are, bringing back the spring into your step, to have a better sense of humor, more likability, more intuition. Imagine you can just eliminate procrastination from your life. Imagine you had the remarkable goal setting and power of execution. Imagine being calm under pressure, always on, the ability to focus 6 hours straight without taking a break. He's giving them a vision of what their future could be like. He's giving them a little taste. They've created these little movies of what the future could be like, and it's creating a desire for them to move forward. They get to taste it, and they want to move towards it. It's called future pacing. You could also do this on the negative side. You could say, hey, if you choose not to do this, if you choose not to do this, be ready to experience the same brain fog, the same tiredness the same feelings of frustration and struggling and never really making progress no matter how hard you try. You could give them you could paint a picture of the future that if they don't change, and it amplifies their current pain, right? Because a lot of people, they experience pain, but they don't understand the true cost of inaction, or the true cost of making these mistakes, because they don't imagine what the future is going to be like. So you can show them what the future is like, and it amplifies their current pain and desire to take action. Just like some people don't take action because they don't know how good life could be, or they don't understand the true benefit over the long term of doing it. You can take and give them a taste of the future, and it's going to amplify their current desire to act. Now, there's sort of a middle ground, which I explained, which is the storytelling, right? And this guy in the middle of this ad, he does some storytelling. He talks about his own life. He gives them an example of how terrible his life was before. Where does he say here? There's like a part where he's talking about, the year 2012, life dealt me a merciless beatdown. He's talking about, gives them some images or some stories where his life's terrible, and they can sort of resonate with that. He then talks about how his life turns around and how he has wonderful stuff. He gives them a chance to kind of taste what their life could be like if they were able to apply the same lessons he had. Jumping out of a plane, buying a cool house, cool cars, et cetera, et cetera. You can play with time to change how they currently feel. You can talk about how they currently feel and amplify it, or you can reach into the future and take that future pain, that future desire, that future benefit that they're going to experience, and bring it to them right now so they can taste it now, and it's going to influence them to take steps now to improve, either to avoid pain in the future or move towards desire in the future. And you can also kind of sneakily do this by doing stories to allow them to experience to resonate with their current pains, and also give them a taste of what their future could be like. So use time as an element here. All right, so we've talked about using the power of time to amplify emotions. I want to talk about two other main elements, and these are very, very powerful elements to amplify the emotions, the pain, and the desire that someone feels. And that is the power of identity and the power of status. Now, this ad is probably one of the best examples of doing both of those really, really well. So if you can talk about how a certain outcome, a certain change in their life is going to improve how they are perceived by other people, that's going to massively increase their desire for that thing, right? Because you're kind of combining the desire for, say, esteem from other people into the desire to achieve whatever outcome that you're providing. If you can show them how purchasing a product is going to prove to themselves and to everyone around them that they are a certain type of person, it's going to massively improve the value. This is why people buy things like Rolexes, for example. Rolexes, like, sure, they tell you the time. That's the basic value of a Rolex, but really, what a Rolex proves to you is that you've made it. You're that guy. You're on top of the game. And it proves to everyone else, hey, he's the man. It gives you status and identity. So using those two things together or individually is a really, really powerful tool to amplify the desire that someone has for a specific outcome. And I'm going to show you an example with this ad. This is an old school ad. It's one of my favorite ads. I think it's probably my favorite ad of all time because of how well it does these two things. The headline is, do you have the courage to earn $500,000 a year? So this is an identity ad. It's saying, hey, are you actually a brave person? So if you continue reading this, or if you purchase this product, you're kind of telling yourself, you're telling the guy who you're talking to, the guy who's writing this ad, and you're kind of telling everyone else, hey, I'm a brave guy. I'm the kind of guy who does have the courage to move forward here. If you read this next, the subheadline, this is a private advertisement. It is meant for the tremendously ambitious man only. Now, if you're a man and you read this, you have two choices. You can either continue to read and prove to everyone and yourself that you are an ambitious person, or you can stop reading and kind of have to admit that you're not an ambitious person. So he's selling the consumption of this page based almost purely on identity, on are you brave, are you ambitious, right? That's a really, really good example of the identity. And he continues to stack down the rest of this ad. I recommend you guys break this one down. There'll be a link to it later inside of the program for you guys to analyze. But now let's talk about the status. So obviously right here, you have this image, which conveys status. We have this man. He's wearing a nice suit. He's giving an expensive gift to a beautiful woman. This was run back in like the 67, I think. This lady is leaning into him. She's very obviously into this man. This man has status. He has women who are into him, and obviously men want to be him. There's a level of status here. He has power inside of his group, right? This image conveys this, right? And again, you can use language, but you can use images to achieve the same effect. Basically, you need to ask yourself, what do I want them to experience? What tools can I use? What words, images, experiences, what little things going to have them imagine that will create that effect in their mind. Right here, he's selling that identity and that status through this image. Let me show you another example. So if you go down here to this first paragraph, it says, it is meant for the kind of man who has, first of all, the relentless desire to earn more money in a single year than most of his friends will earn in their entire lifetime. So he's got two things in play here. He's got the identity again. He's, again, making the person sort of make a micro commitment to be a man of relentless desire. And also he's giving this sort of competition, the status. Hey, you become the kind of man who earns more money than in a year, in a single year, than most of his friends will earn in an entire lifetime. Be the highest earning man in your friend group. That is status. He is selling be at the top of your friend group. He's selling esteem and respect and status. So these are just a few examples of how to amplify desire. And really, you're tapping into these greater desires and layering these greater desires. Sure, you can talk about earning a lot of money. People like to earn money. They like to be rich. That's cool. But if you can turn it into being desired by women, if you can turn it into being respected by men, if you can turn it into proving to yourself and everyone that you're a brave, courageous man, then it amplifies the desires and it makes it to where the person is more likely to take action. Again, these are powerful tools. You should not use these for evil. You should only use these to help people take action that will genuinely improve their life and help them actually achieve higher status and actually achieve the identity that you promised to them. These are powerful, powerful tools. Use them, though, to influence people to take action. And use this inside of your copy, and you'll get them to take that action that you've defined way more than if you ignore status or you ignore including identity into your sales. Basically, you can give them two choices when it comes to identity. Be the smart person that you want to be, or be this dumb person that you don't want to be. And you make the difference be taking the action you want to take. Smart people are doing this, dumb people are doing this. You should probably do this. That's kind of how you play the identity game. In the status game, you want to show how other people will perceive them. You want to show how they will be high status inside of their group, how their friends will respect them, how their coworkers will respect them, how their loved ones will respect them. You want to weave that in as much as possible into your copy if you want to get the greatest results. All right, so the next thing you need to do, usually in the persuasion arc, is you need to reveal to them the roadblock, the thing that is keeping them from getting what they want. You need to show them the solution. You need to show them the actions they need to take in order to achieve their success that they want, that dream state that they're looking towards, that they're all amped up about. And you need to frame the product or the deliverable or the action or whatever you're going to have them take as the best vehicle for achieving that desired outcome, for taking advantage of the solution and overcoming the roadblock. You have to understand this and how all these pieces connect together in complete detail, or else you will have a very hard time persuading them to take action. You can't just get them all amped up about their desires and about their pains and say, buy this product, it's magic and we'll give you what you want. That generally isn't enough for people. People need to understand on a fundamental level how the actions they're going to take are going to help them overcome the problems they are facing and achieve the results they want. They need to understand a little bit of the how. They already know the why, but they need to know what they need to do and how they're going to do it. That's an important part for giving them enough energy and belief to move forward and take action. And I'm going to show you how to understand roadblocks on a more fundamental level, how to understand solutions on a more fundamental level, and how to frame products in a way that take advantage of these two understandings so people will purchase and it will make more sense to them to purchase. Again, we've got them all amped up. We've got their emotions going. It's like we've got a train with a really, really powerful engine. Now we need to lay down the tracks. We need to show them the path forward. And there's a lot of value that comes if you can be the guy who does that for them.
For most people, there's a reason they live in their current state of pain and they don't live in that dream state where everything's wonderful. And usually there's something that has stopped them from achieving that success. They are making some mistake. There is some limitation they are running into. There is something that they've tried to live that wonderful life and they haven't been able to for some reason. That is what I call the roadblock. It's the thing that keeps them from achieving their dream state. Now, sometimes your reader already knows what his mistakes are, and then that's going to depend on your market and the roadblock that you help them with. It really, really depends on that. But most of the time, people aren't 100% sure why they don't have their dream life. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know the problem that's actually keeping them from that success. If you can be the guy who shows up and sort of like moves the vines out of the way and shows them their actual roadblock and say, hey guys, the reason you haven't gotten what you want is because you're making this mistake, or because you don't understand this principle, or there is this limitation that that is keeping you from being successful. If you can actually show them what that is, now that if you've got them all motivated to get that thing that they want, and you can show them, hey, here's the problem that's keeping you there, my friend, you just done them a great service. You have helped them see the first part of their path forward. That is a huge, valuable gift that you can give them, and it will increase a kind of a nice little benefit is it massively increase their trust in you and their devotion to you, because you're now the guy who has started to help them achieve their goal and shown them part of reality that they didn't even see before. You become a very important person in their world, and it makes it to where they are very likely to believe the solution that you're going to recommend to them is the correct one, and that your product is the best product to help them take advantage of that solution. So whenever you are taking someone through the persuasion arc, at some point, you're going to have to show them the problem. If they already know the problem, you need to show that you understand the problem, that you are talking about the right problem, that you guys are on the same page about the problem. If they don't know about their problem yet, they don't know about their true roadblock, and you become the guy who can show it to them, you gain a massive advantage. But generally speaking, you need to go through this process of showing them at some point the true nature of their problem, so then you can then help them. What is the roadblock? What is the mistake? What is the limitation that is currently keeping them stuck where they are in their little painful life that they need to overcome if they ever want to live that wonderful dream existence that your product or service helps them achieve? You have to understand the roadblock. All right, so once you've revealed the roadblock, once you've shown them the thing that's keeping them from getting what they want, their limitation, their thing that's stopping them, then you need to show them the solution. You need to show them the key to the vault, the ways to open up, overcome the roadblock, get around it, or whatever, in order to get the result that they want. Now, you have to understand that the entire world operates on cause and effect. For everything that you want, there is a cause to create that effect, let's say. And if you do this, then you will get that. So whenever someone's making a mistake, whenever there's a roadblock stopping them, there's always an if-then that will help you defeat that roadblock, right? Let's say somebody is trying to get a six-pack. They're a young man, wants to get a six-pack. Guy's in there working in the gym, but for some reason doesn't have a six-pack, right? His roadblock is, hey, dude, you're not at 10% body fat. You're at 20% body fat. You need to fix your body fat percentage. Now, the solution, the way to defeat that would be if you maintain a 400 calorie deficit every day for 6 weeks, then you'll have a six-pack. You'll reach 10% body fat, for example, right? You have a roadblock, the body fat being too high, and he's not attacking the body fat problem. The solution is if you eat at a deficit, then you'll lose body fat. Simple as that, right? That's one example of a solution. And if then that leads to the result that you want. I can give you lots of other examples. Let's say that same guy wanted to gain muscle, right? And the problem was, let's say he was, just doing some push-ups here and there and like just living his normal life. Well, you could say, hey man, look, your problem is you're not stimulating your muscle growth and fueling your muscle growth. If you practice progressive overload and you combine a caloric surplus with protein of the right protein, then you'll achieve muscle growth, right? You can show people the mechanism or the solution, the cause and effect relationship that they need to understand in order to get what they want. This is the solution, right? The if-then. If you do this, then you'll get the result, and show them how that solution will help them overcome the roadblock. That is the solution that you're going to be showing them after you've got them all amped up and excited and curious. You need to be able to explain to them and show them the solution in a way where they're like, that makes sense. I understand it now. That's my path forward. You're basically showing them what they need to do. Now, how they do it, then what's the best way to do that? That might all be wrapped up in a product, but most of the time in the sales situation,
You're going to help people understand their problems, and you're even going to tell them what they need to do to be successful. But you're going to then position the product as the thing that's going to help them enact that solution the easiest or fastest or best way. Now, something to keep in mind with this solution, right, is also called a mechanism. It's the thing that they use to get what they want, right? Now, whenever you recommend or show a solution to someone, it can't be the same solution they've already tried, right? If they've already tried this and it didn't work, they actually literally follow that solution and it didn't work, and you recommend the same thing over and over again, they won't believe it, right? You have to give them a new solution, a new approach, a new angle, a new twist on that if-then for them to even believe that it can possibly work for them. So again, if you can be the guy who shows the roadblock and shows the solution, you show them what their mistake is and what they need to do to solve it, they're going to like you for that, and they're going to trust you from that, and they're going to want to purchase from you because of that. And it's going to allow you to position your product as the best way to take advantage of the solution. So whenever you sit down to analyze your avatar and their dream state and what they're trying to get to, you need to identify their roadblocks, and you need to identify the if-then. Sometimes there's multiple things that have to go together, but you have to identify the causes they need to enact in order to get the effect that they want. For example, you right now, you want to make a lot of money. The reason you're not making a lot of money in your life right now is you don't have a highly valuable marketable skill. There's not a way that you can add a lot of value into a business, so they're not paying you a lot of money, right? The solution is if you learn a marketable skill and develop a skill that's valuable to a business like copywriting, then you can provide that value and they'll pay you a lot of money, for example, right? You need to understand the if-then relationship, the solution that's going to free them from their roadblock and give them their desires and overcome their fears. If you understand that clearly and can communicate that to them in a way where they're like, it makes sense, then you're going to earn their trust and you can show them where to direct their action afterwards. All right, so now that we have shown them what they're doing wrong and then what they need to do to get what they want, we need to now frame the product as the thing that's going to help them achieve that outcome faster, or something, or in a way that requires less sacrifice or mistakes, or in a way that is less risk-free than them just trying to figure it out by themselves. Remember, you told them what they could do. Theoretically, they should be able to walk away, and maybe it takes them 10 years to figure it out, but they can figure out a way to do what you told them to do, right? You want to frame the product as a tool to help them take advantage of the solution faster, either to achieve the result faster than they try to do it by themselves, or you want the product to be something that helps them do it in a way that's less risky. It's more guaranteed to work this way. Or you want to make it as something that's going to help them avoid a lot of costly and difficult mistakes or heartache or whatever. Or you want to make sure that the product is something that's going to help them achieve an even greater result than if they try and do it by themselves. Here's a hint. You might want to do all four of those things. If these sound familiar to you, they should. This is the value equation. This is how you position your product to be the most valuable tool possible to help them use their newfound knowledge, the things that you just taught them, to then turn around and go out and actually get the dream result they want. So whenever you sit down to position your product, the product isn't magic. It's not like you buy this product and then it's like a magic thing. You have it and then ta-da, you get what you want. No, usually the product, what it does is it helps you as the person turn around and enact certain causes and effects that will get you what you want. And you need to show them how your product is the best vehicle to take advantage of that solution, right? It's like if you were going to give them it's like, hey, if you want to get from LA to so let's do a different example. If you want to get from San Francisco to New York, you got to take I-80. That's like, the problem is, let's say the problem is, hey, you're in San Francisco and you want to get to New York, and the solution is, if you want to get to New York, you must drive across from San Francisco to New York along Interstate 80. It's a big highway that connects the two cities across the whole entire planet. And the product in this example might be something that's like, hey, you can take this beat up old Honda Civic, or there's a different product, which is like a Lambo. You can drive the Lambo across the country. It'll be a lot more fun, right? Again, you want to position the product as the best vehicle, the best tool, the thing that makes it easier, faster, less risk-free, and more enjoyable to get what they want using this new knowledge that you've given them. That's how you want to position the product. And we're going to go into detail about how to structure that and how to add value, stack value, and price all in later videos when I show you how to actually write this part. But you need to be able to sit down and connect all of these dots from the very beginning. Hey, my friend, here's your problem. This is the roadblock that's keeping you from getting what you want. Here's the solution. Here's the if-then that you must fulfill in order to get what you truly want. And here is a product that will make it as easy as possible for you to get that thing as quickly and efficiently
with as little risk, as much enjoyment as possible. If you can understand and define these things and present them to your actual prospect or your reader, you will help them achieve their results, and they will be more convinced and willing to say, I want to work with this guy because he wants to help me. A point I want to emphasize for you guys is that you have to look at each market and understand the level of sophistication and awareness that your target market actually has, right? So I give some examples about products and in the fitness niche, like, solutions like, you need to maintain a caloric deficit in order to reach a certain body fat. You have to understand that every market has different levels of awareness, let's say. They might know where their problem is. Some people don't know what their problem is. You have to really understand who you're talking to, where they are in your funnel, and how aware they are of the actual problem that you're going to be helping them with, the roadblock that you're helping them with. If they're extremely aware about it, then you just have to kind of acknowledge it and then show them either a deeper problem that they don't understand, or carry on with how your solution is different, right? The other thing that you have to understand is the level of sophistication. Now, if you're talking to people who have tried 1 million products before that are in the same category as yours, you have to show them how your category is now different, or how it's designed specifically for their type of person, right? If they've been a part of 1 million fitness accountability chats, you have to show them how your solution, your accountability solution, is different in a way that's new enough that they can believe in it again. Because if they've tried something and it doesn't work, then they're not going to believe in it anymore. That they've learned, if I do this, then I don't get what I want. I'm not going to do this anymore. You have to show them how whatever the cause you are recommending they take, whatever, if it's a type of product or solution, is different than everything they've tried in the past, in a way that's going to allow them to get what they want faster, easier, with less risk and with less heartache, right? So you need to pay attention to your market. You need to pay really close attention to who you're talking to. How aware are they of the problems and the solutions? How sophisticated are they? How many products have they tried in the same space? And you need to change how you position your solution, your roadblock, your products accordingly, right? You need to look at your competitors. What are they currently talking about? Who are they talking to? How are they showing up? Are they attacking this roadblock, this solution, that solution? How can you make your solution slightly different? Which of the main value drivers are they targeting? Are they targeting the speed at which they'll be able to get the result, or are they targeting the certainty? And you might want to either copy them or show up completely different than them. Depends entirely on the market. So you need to pay attention to who you're talking to and who the other players are advertising the same market, who's talking the same market, and use that to influence your positioning so you can show up in a way that's relevant to the people you're talking to and just different enough from your audience to win the market share. Now, if you can understand the principles I've described to you in these last few videos, you're going to have the ability to show up to any industry, any market in the world, and disrupt it. I want you guys to all be very careful. I want you guys to take very good care and focus on the mission that comes after this. Get really good at this. You'll probably want to come back and watch these series of videos several times throughout your copywriting career, because it's going to give you the key to massively dominate. Now, it's important to get all the copywriting stuff, get the right headlines and stuff right. But unless you understand and can define and differentiate yourself in the way that I've showed you, talking about the roadblocks, the products, and the solutions, unless you can actually do that, it doesn't really matter. All that copyright stuff doesn't matter if you can't show up and position yourself in the correct way with the right kind of offer. So pay attention to these videos, rewatch them if you need to, practice the lessons, practice the missions, because this is going to be very, very key to your success in the marketing game, on top of just your ability to write good copy.